Hello, and welcome back to Have You Heard, the social media podcast by us here at The Social Shepherd. My name is Zoe. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO here at the agency. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. Josh, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Joshua George, probably the most British name you could actually ever have. I'm the founder of ClickSlice. We're an e-commerce SEO agency in the UK.
Nice, fabulous. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is the first day that we've ever done virtual podcasts, and you are our second guest. So I'm very much getting up to scratch with this. So thank you so much for joining us, and please bear with whilst I get to grips with this.
Amazing, amazing.
Cool. Okay, so I'm really, really excited for this conversation because I have been literally hammering our team over the last probably 6 months about SEO and the change that's happening in our landscape. I think it's really interesting because our two worlds are very much colliding at the minute, and we're probably both coming at it from slightly different angles. So, and I will flag before we start, I'm not an SEO specialist. I won't pretend to be. I will leave that all to you, Josh. But there is a lot of that is going on that social and SEO are kind of sharing at the minute. Before we kick off, and you kind of did it already, but in two sentences, can you describe your role in the agency?
So my role's actually changed recently, so it's probably longer than two sentences.
Okay.
I typically focus more on like marketing and strategy now, where before I was just all strategy, like day in, day out. I was doing the actual work, but now we have obviously a very good team that does it, and I kind of oversee the strategy and make sure it's kind of in line with what's going on right now in the current industry.
Nice. And how did you, do you mind me asking just a bit of a backstory as to how you came start the agency? What was kind of what happened there?
Yeah, so I actually got into SEO, I think it was 2015,
Hmm.
as an end result of selling on eBay. And so I used to have a very big like drop shipping store in the UK, I think 2015 times. And it was actually the largest in the UK at the time. And we were essentially just drop shipping items from Amazon to eBay. So that was actually going great. It was making good money back in the day. I guess it's all relative, but it's against eBay's terms and conditions to do that and with Amazon as well. So our account kept getting shut down and shut down. Very frustrating. But the biggest issue was the eBay FVF, the final value fees. So for every item you sell on eBay, you have to give them 10% of your revenue for them bringing you the sale. So I was like, forget this eBay stuff. I'm going to make my own website and sell directly, cut out eBay and keep all the profit. And then I'd made my website and I was on like page 20 of Google and getting no sales. So I stumbled across SEO, figured out how to rank my own store, and kind of from there didn't look back. So I'd offer it as a service to other ecom brands.
Yeah, nice. I feel like e-com is where so many people that now own agencies started with because funnily, I went a more traditional route, did like my degree, went and worked in some agencies, but Jack and I are married as well. So when he started, he's like your typical entrepreneur, I like to say, but he had an events business and also did e-com for a while. And I
Oh,
think it's because you just learn the skills so well through doing it. And like the pressure is on you a bit more than if you were just learning it in like a traditional entry level role in an agency or a brand because it's literally like your mouth and your food and your living depends on it. So you learn it quicker by need. And I think that's why so many people that have done e-com sort of, we're talking probably like 10 years ago now, have then gone on to have more of these like skill-based agencies that they own.
yeah, it's crazy. It's one of the industries where like you don't just be like, when I'm older, I want to be an SEO. Like you just try and kind of make these online properties to generate income, and then you stumble across different marketing strategies, different channels, and you kind
Yeah.
of fit yourself into one channel, right? Where you've gone like paid social, creative. I've just gone organic, and some people have gone paid search, right? So it's very interesting, but they all overlap and they all intersect, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I guess, so how long have you had ClickSlice and what's kind of the trajectory of your growth been?
So I started the agency in 2016.
Mhm.
I say I started it. I was actually working full time. I quit my job in 2017. And I must admit, like I didn't actually come from a wealthy background. So when I had like one or two clients and started making a good amount of money, I got very complacent. I'm not ashamed to admit it. So the first few years of us was kind of just winging it. But we've taken things a lot more seriously in the last couple of years now, where we've got like, I think 16 team members, about 38 clients now. And all of our leads coming inbound as well through SEO. So, we're kind of selling what we also do for ourselves. So yeah, we're in a very good position now.
Nice. No, we were very similar, to be fair. It was just Jack and I for the first 18 months, and we were very much like perfecting the skill and the craft. And yeah, we were the same. It was just the two of us for 18 months, and then it really sort of started to scale up. But all of our leads are inbound too. Jack, whilst we own a social social agency, loves SEO as well. So he's
Sure.
like in the background trying to figure all of that out. But yeah, no, he's done a really, really good job of that. But yeah, 16 people. So you've moved your role, because I remember whenever we had 15, that was the time whenever our roles really significantly changed. That was quite hard, that 15, 16 team member phase. And it's when you start to get into the realms of proper people management, and that kind of creeps out and will start to kind of take up some of your day-to-day time.
Yeah, it's probably the part I enjoy the least, which I know my team don't mind me saying. I was like, I think none of us started an agency to start managing people, and like, the people I think are the most complex part of businesses. For sure, like SEO is great, client management can be tricky at times, but ultimately managing people, their emotions, I don't have any training on that. So I'm trying to bring that in house now to just kind of streamline things a bit better. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting part we're at in terms of the agency's journey. But with obviously AI, as a lot of this topic is probably going to be about coming in and disrupting things. It's kind of thrown another spanner in the works that I'm trying to navigate as well. But I guess it's just the fun journey of growing a business, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, whenever we brought our people and internal ops director Kelly in, I was like, I can finally breathe. I've got some help and support in this area. So yeah, I can completely empathize. But the AI topics are really interesting ones. We had an all company strategy day like 4 weeks ago now, and we were very honest with the team. Like, the roles as you know them today, like they'll still exist in 5 years' time, but they'll look completely different from the skills that you need, the day-to-day tasks that you're managing. And so we're really kind of working with our team to get them up to scratch there. And I think it's important, like as an employer, that you kind of it takes two to tango, but we do have to take some level of responsibility for the working world that our team are moving into. Are you kind of doing the same with your team? We're making decisions where we maybe would have brought in additional headcount to invest in tech, for example.
Exactly that. Yeah, we actually had an AI like agent developer. I guess the roles changing what they call themselves every week, but they're basically building like a custom AI workflow for us. So what we found is there's lots of like third-party tools out there that you can sign up to, and you kind of plug it into your business, and it helps you be more efficient and speed up things. But ultimately, every business is different, and the way we work will be different to another e-commerce SEO agency. So we're getting kind of developers to custom build AI workflows for us, and the team are kind of speaking in terms of what they want, because it's all good me saying I think we should have A, B, C, D, but I'm actually not the one working on the project or the campaign. So I'm getting a lot of input from the team, and they feel more valuable because they're putting more input into it. They have more kind of voice in terms of how the agency progresses in that avenue. So yeah, we're doing a lot at the moment. I think by the end of Q2, we should be in a good position when we have 3 custom AI workflows set up in the agency, both on sales, efficiencies, and operations as well. So yeah,
Nice.
a lot
No,
of work.
that's so good. And we found the same actually, because we took a lot of like the sales call demos of all of these third party platforms that you can kind of tap into, and we were like, actually, like, sorry to anyone that works at these platforms, but like a third of them are like, they're not helpful. Like, it's just like they're like, what? I don't even know what you're trying to sell me right now, and I don't even think this is AI. I think the word gets thrown around so much. So we're
It
also
does.
get like some custom solutions internally, because I think everything just kind of needs to fit into the operations of a business. And
It
every single
does.
agency operates ever so slightly differently. So yeah, we're doing the same. Okay, so I'm really intrigued to see what your honest opinions are, because I think there's a lot of noise, particularly on LinkedIn at the minute, about like SEO is social, social is SEO, like, and it is like social is a search engine these days. So how does that make you feel? And I guess it probably is a little bit, I think it would be natural to be a bit trepidatious about that as an SEO agency, just because you've got more platforms to start looking at. But how does it make you feel, kind of what's happened in the landscape?
I embrace it. I love change. I love evolution. So like I always look at some of the comments you see on LinkedIn, right? Oh, SEO is this, SEO is dying, TikTok's not searching. People are very vocal to say what they think, and often when they're vocal, it's something they disagree with. That's what I
Mhm.
found. I would say your job as an SEO is to kind of reverse engineer the algorithm. The algorithm changes every single day, every single week, especially on Google. There's over 200 ranking signals they use in part of the algo. So like, if you're afraid to adapt and kind of evolve, then you're probably not suited to being an actual SEO. In terms of how we view it at the agency, technically SEO shouldn't just be about Google, right? It's wherever your customers are searching for, you should optimize for that platform. As you know, every platform has a different algorithm, and it's very hard to be a master of every single one. So we specialize just on Google because it's the majority of where searches come from. I think like 93% of all traffic comes from Google, which is insane. We found ourselves just sticking to what we're good at and not trying to reinvent the wheel, and just advising brands that yes, people are searching on TikTok, they are searching on YouTube, they are searching elsewhere. But from what we've found, there's actually a lot of data I have to actually to support this, because I spend way too much time, I like to admit, researching all these stats and revenue numbers for different platforms. But the majority of searches that we see our clients losing, and when I say majority, it's like 2%, 3% max, is all top of the funnel searches. So good example, I was actually buying a car last year in October, November. And whenever I buy a car, I always do some research. What's the common faults with this car? Just so I can kind of avoid any certain models and years that may have more problems than other cars, right? And I found myself on Google searching, common faults of a Range Rover. And it's like, it was really bad experience. I had to open 5 different websites, open a forum, scroll down, see what people are saying, then come up with a solution. And like, it was just so bad. I could just go onto ChatGPT and just say common faults with a Range Rover, and I get the list right there and then. So even me being an SEO, I see myself not even using Google in certain scenarios. And I think being honest about that conversation and kind of how users use search is very important to make sure you're ahead of the curve, for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And we literally had like a slide up for our team that was like change is a necessity. It's not an option, like literally to be around in the next sort of 3 years as an agency or as a marketer, realistically, to be up to scratch. It's so important. And I think it's interesting, the whole social topic, like it is a component of search. It is not search in its entirety. And I think sometimes I do get frustrated with people throwing around like social is search. Like it is, but it's not the full picture. And you are so right in the sense that like ChatGPT, like how are we ranking in ChatGPT? How are we making sure that happens? And also there's also different places that people search for different categories. And also I think on social, the opportunity is a lot of people are searching for opinion-based things. So people are looking at like, okay, top trending sneakers for 2025, or like cool girl sneakers type thing. And it's not really like, you're not really searching for the product necessarily, although that is weaved in there, but it's shaping your thoughts and opinions and what you think is trending and what you want to purchase. So it's like signals basically that are coming from social. Um, so
It
go
is,
ahead.
and it's so important as well, because I think I was having a conversation last week with someone internally at our agency about this, and people say, "Oh yeah, so there's no point producing blog posts on your website because people will just go to TikTok or YouTube or Pinterest to find that same type of informational content, more top of the funnel." And I was like, "Well, no, technically not, because to rank in Google, you still need what you call like TR, topical relevance, to be relevant on a topic, and the way you do that is you have more content on that topic."
Mhm.
If we're at that interesting part now where like you can produce content to support ranking in Google for your commercial transactional terms, but it actually may not get that much traffic because people may find, maybe TikTok more engaging to see a visual. And, I'll be honest, like I said, I had one of my team members in London last week and she's a vegan. So I was looking for vegan restaurants in London. You try go on Google and find a vegan restaurant in London. It is so painful. Again,
Yeah.
you open 10 different websites, you can just find a TikTok mini vlog showing you all the restaurants, the menus, the food, the audio. Like it just hits 10 times harder.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's just making sure that people are taking a really informed perspective with the industry that they're in. Like, what is the demand for the product that they're trying to sell? And are people coming at it from an informed perspective, or do we need to inform them before they actually want the product and that demand is there? I think there's just a lot of like flyaway statements that happen, particularly on LinkedIn, which is like frustrating. I've been really trying to push our team to look at things with a critical eye, because a lot of people make these statements and they come across as so confident that people just believe them, and it's like, no, like there's more layers to this than you actually think. I think it can be quite dangerous sometimes.
Yeah, I find myself fist pumping the air when I'm reading those posts. And there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of people were like, SEO's dead, ChatGPT is taken over search. And it's like, if you look at the data and take a data-driven approach to this, it couldn't be further from the truth. Like Google search revenue is growing year on year. Like in Q4 in 2024, they generated 54 billion just from search. Compare that to Q4 for 2023, it was 48 billion. So that's a 12.5% increase. So Google is anything but dying in terms of search. And I think what you said in terms of validating a product, like we're at the same stage with ClickSlice. Like we are optimizing brands for ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all the AI models, but there's not as big of a demand for it at the moment because you can't actually purchase through these models. But we are trying to get a head start, and there's so many agencies that say like Geo, which is generative engine optimization, AEO, which is answer engine, like all these buzzwords are just making up, which no one's actually looking for right now. So I do believe, and I kind of agree with what you said, it's more of an educational piece to say, hey, this is how search is evolving and transitioning, and we can get ahead of the curve because, I think I watched one of your podcasts actually the other day where you said your timeline for like AI being really big in search is 2026, kind of people pick it up, and 2027 it's here to stay and you haven't picked up, you're going to be in the past. And I pretty much agree with that. I think next year is probably when brands will be more open and receptive, and 2027 it should be pretty much another channel in still the early stages.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. And it's interesting because I do genuinely believe that we will, I don't know if a decline, we will see a little bit of a decline on Google search demand, but that search will just go elsewhere and we'll have different demos, different interests, different audiences searching in different places. And I think it will be, I think like 3 years ago, almost every single new business lead that we had was like, oh, like we kind of want to give TikTok a go. And now it's like, that's just like the standard type thing. And so we'll see these waves of brands adopting things and taking them on board. But yeah, I agree in its entirety. So I have a couple questions. So you guys are predominantly focused on Google, which you've just mentioned, but you are optimizing for some modern platforms. Are you doing anything on social from a search perspective, or is it not something you've tapped into yet?
No, we only literally focus on Google where we know. Like we've had a lot of I wouldn't say contractors we work with that specialize in different platforms, and we try to push it to our clients, but like honestly, we are not great on those platforms, and like we are really good when it comes to SEO and Google. We have a big advantage with ChatGPT and other AI models as well, and that is where our experience is. And we actually rank #1 in the UK for a lot of our like terms as well, e-commerce SEO agency. So we're trying to stay in our lane and just be the go-to expert for this one service.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And I don't actually think anyone has really cracked social SEO, if that makes sense, because there are API limitations at the minute in terms of the data that you can get out of the platform. So whilst yes, like I think for brands these days, you kind of have to split social into two different models. You've got your broadcast channel, which is more of like you're generating demand through that content. So you're talking viral content, all of that kind of stuff. But then we've also got this demand capture element, and that is, where we work with fashion brands. For people that are searching for linen trousers in TikTok, you want your video or the video that you've created with a load of creators to come up top. But there isn't actually concrete data and reporting analysis to be able to tell you how that's looking. It has to be very qualitative, which is really difficult at this point in time. So I actually don't think anyone has fully smashed like organic search social or whatever we want to call it. Basically, I don't think it's been done properly as a service offering because it's not possible to do it. I do think it's worth particular industries investing in, but we're not 100% there yet in terms of being able to prove its value because, like you mentioned, whilst there is search volume there actually isn't a crazy amount of it. So yeah, it's got to be developed over time.
Yeah, and I actually put a video on YouTube last week about how to rank in AI search engines like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and so on and so on. And we've had a few leads come in from it. Like, and if I look at how many views the video has in comparison to how many leads, it's like not as high as I thought it would have been. Again, I always like to take a data-driven approach. Again, the video is not the most popular video on YouTube, but it does give me a good insight into what clients actually want. And ultimately, clients just want more revenue. It always comes down to the money, right? And, I had a conversation with one of our clients last week and I was like, hey, would you like to rank in ChatGPT? He said to me, how many people are searching for my product every month? I was like, I don't actually know. I can't actually tell you what's the expected revenue forecast. I can't tell you, but it is on the, like, it's very hard to sell. And then we have to have an honest conversation internally. Like, should we be pushing this if it's actually not going to generate a good ROI? We shouldn't. So we know right now we just have it as if you want to get ahead of the curve, and we have it all over our homepage. We have a section up proposal all about it, and it's more of an add-on to our standard service now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. That makes sense. And it is for the brands that want to get ahead of the curve. I think one thing that makes it slightly different for us on social is the fact that we have got a social commerce like TikTok Shop, for example. So for any of those brands, it is worth doing, and it's almost like SEO within that tiny little platform, basically. But yeah, it's an interesting one, and we're going to see a really different landscape emerge over the next couple of years. But it's hard because at the minute we're just anticipating it and we're preparing for it. Like, okay, well, when are we going to get the data that we actually need to start doing this properly?
If we ever get it.
We will.
Yeah.
TikTok told me they're going to give us it. So
You know what? Like, I would feel more comfortable in your position because you're with TikTok. Google notoriously doesn't tell SEO people anything. Like I remember when featured snippets came out years ago in Google, and I'm like, oh, it's going to kill SEO. No one's going to click websites. You get the answer straight away. And it's now the same thing with AI overviews you've seen in Google search, right? Any top of the funnel, even middle of the funnel search you see AI overviews. And there's actually a massive lawsuit going on against Google in the US. There's an education company called Cheggs, which has basically said since Google released these AI overviews, their traffic has plummeted and so has their revenue. And the worst thing about it is Google is just citing their content in the AI overview. So they're essentially stealing the IP and not giving them any credit in terms of traffic and more clicks. So it's such a messy part at the moment where search is, at least from like a Google standpoint, where I think with TikTok, it's in their best interest to give the data. Google, it's not. They want you to pay for Google ads to get the average cost per click to find out the other keyword insights. Like it's a very gray area for search for sure.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I'm not going to pretend to be a search specialist, so yeah, I don't envy you there. How do you guys use social for any kind of reference points when you're researching specific keywords or trying to come up with strategies for clients? Is that part of what you do?
We do sometimes look at what's trending on TikTok for sure, and we like to create blog pieces of content around that. Sometimes we can ask the client if he's open to embedding videos of TikTok onto the page, and we want to provide the user with the best experience. And sometimes there's a TikTok video covering that product in great detail. Why would we not include it just because it's on TikTok and not on Google? Doesn't make any sense. So we do use it a lot, and we get a lot of insights. And we notice there's a lot of trends on TikTok where something's really popular and then next week no one really cares about it. And then there's another big trend. So it's hard to balance that from an SEO standpoint because when you're ranking organically, you're getting traffic every single day, every single month, and it's consistent, whether it's a trend or not. So we have found sometimes you can kind of jump on a trend, get a massive spike of traffic, and then the trend dies and then the traffic dies as well. So that also makes it harder to justify from an ROI perspective from an SEO campaign.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I watched one of your podcasts that you did, and you were talking about kind of how to manage clients' expectations whenever it comes to selling in SEO, because it's not something that you're necessarily going to see. Like you'll see marginal gains in 0 to 3 months, and you'll probably see larger gains 3 to 6, and then 6 months and above. That's when you'll start to reap the rewards of the work that you've done. I guess we kind of have a similar thing on organic social, but I think we probably get it a little bit easier than you guys, because if we're creating content that the clients love, they're like, woo, look at my brand on social.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love it.
it. And also, like, the algorithms have changed a little bit. So, whereas Instagram, you need a large following, it shows your content goes out to 10% of your following. With TikTok, someone with one follower that is called Frog could get like 1 million views if their content's good enough on it on TikTok. So I think we probably have a little bit of an easier, a different job to do there, I guess. But how do you kind of manage clients' expectations whenever it comes to when they're going to see that ROI?
Yeah, it's just been honest and transparent. So when I started the agency, I was like, yeah, I want to take on every single client. I need the revenue. But now, we literally say no to more brands than we say yes to. So there's actually a kind of multi-part answer to this question. The first is, we tell a brand, you need to have this retainer fee for a minimum of 6 to 9 months. If you don't have that, then we're not going to take you on, because we will take you on, you'll be unhappy, you may not get the results. Obviously, sometimes they rank in 2 to 3 weeks. It's very easy to do if they've got lots of authority and you're making small technical tweaks on the website. But more often than not, it does take time, because with SEO, you're essentially trying to convince Google that your site is relevant and authoritative. And that takes time to build up because you're doing it in an organic way, hence the name organic marketing. So, if brands are kind of like, oh, 6 to 9 months, that's quite a long time, I want results quicker, then we say, hey, maybe SEO isn't the right fit for you. We offer paid search, Google ads as well, still on Google's platform. If you want a quicker kind of time to get results, that may be more suited to your brand, but you're gonna have to pay for every click. So it's a lot of education that we find as well. And I acquired a brand actually last year, October. So I'm like literally live and breathe ecom. We have an ecom agency and I have an ecom brand. And I bought that brand because it was struggling from an SEO standpoint. So I was like, yeah, we'll just come in, fix the SEO, and then job done. And we have fixed the SEO. We're ranking #1 for our main terms, but there's so much more to the puzzle. It's not just one piece. SEO is a magic bullet. So we now say to brands that if you're just doing SEO, we don't want to work with you, because we know to be successful, you need to be running paid ads, social, you need to be doing creative, you need to do influencer marketing, you need to have email marketing. There's so much more to it. And I think just getting that brand experience hands-on has just given us more experience at the agency to then even give better results to our clients.
Yeah, whenever Jack and I started the agency, we did everything. So we did email campaigns, we built people websites, like anything that we could get our hands on. So I feel your pain with that one. Like we took on some clients where we were just running everything for these small brands. Learned so much, but it is a lot to kind of manage. I was going to ask, so I've seen quite a lot about this perspective of kind of marketing channels as such are going to kind of bleed away, and it's going to be organic versus paid. And organic social, organic search is all going to kind of clump into one. What do you think of that?
I'm not too sure I agree with it. I generally think it depends on the stage of the search, so kind of the purchase funnel. Like top of the funnel, I can see that being spread. Of course, some people will still want to use Google because they prefer to read text. Some people are more visual, especially Gen Z. They like more visual, engaging content with a really good hook, so they're going to go towards TikTok. So I think parts of the funnel will be split out across, but I'm a strong believer of bottom of the funnel is typically going to stay on Google. Like I myself pretty much do it all the time. Like I'll be on TikTok after this massive trend going viral with a new yoga mat. Wow, I'm blown away. I'm reading all the comments and then going on TikTok, searching for that product in TikTok to see what people are saying, to read more comments. Then once I'm convinced, I then go onto Google, I then search for the product name, I do more research, or I find the retailer and then I buy it directly from Google. So I think at the moment, we're still kind of programmed to use Google to make the final purchase decision. And I think the larger the cost of the item you're buying, the
Yeah.
more likely you are to go to Google as well.
Yeah, agree with the value of the purchasing for sure. What do you think about though if social commerce and TikTok Shop becomes more widely adopted? Because I guess that technically, provided it's trusted, which another conversation, would technically cut that organic search piece out of it because people would be staying in platform. And then I guess that's where the conversation comes in about, does organic search actually live on social in that element? Yeah, I guess it kind of.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I think ultimately it depends on your audience. I think some niches are more open to it than others, and I think price point plays a big part of that for sure. But it is definitely with TikTok Shop coming out, and who knows what other marketplaces will roll out in the next 5 years, and maybe another social media app that goes viral as well and blows up, and then that's a whole other piece of the puzzle. But yeah, I think right now it's very still early to say. Of course, people are searching on social platforms, and there's a demand for there, and brands that are ranking can make a lot of money and revenue for sure. We are just sticking to Google because we know that's where the bulk of the revenue share is. And we're not overlooking, hey, TikTok's not going to be for us. Like, if it comes to a case where ultimately, say, I can't ever see this happening, but no one uses Google and everyone's on TikTok Shop, then we will pivot and become a TikTok Shop SEO agency. Like,
I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen.
yeah,
I
the
don't
same.
think
Say
I've
that's very
ever.
dramatic.
I don't think I've heard this phrase before, but I feel like it's going to become. Correct me if this has been widely used. But I think it's going to be omni-commerce in the sense that, if we take a $15 to $20 makeup brand, for example, that's going to be prime for TikTok Shop. It is going to be that lower price point product, although we may see it creep to more medium to high price point products over time. But there's going to be some people that are on TikTok and are going to shop there and be comfortable shopping there, and other people that are going to go to Sephora to find the same product. They're going to go to the brand's own site to find the product. They might ask ChatGPT and purchase on there if they launch that service. So it's going to be more complex than it traditionally has been, where people have been kind of limited to purchasing online only via a D2C site or going through retailers that stock a specific brand. So I think we're just going to end up in a more complex landscape whenever we have these other commerce places. And I do think at some point, the traditional website might become slightly redundant or used for different purposes, but I think we're a way off that happening.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think once these platforms start giving us search volume, so imagine a client comes to us and we sell helmets for cycling, right? And we can then say, TikTok has 20,000 searches per month. Google has 5,000. Like once we have the data, I'm saying, okay, that is actually the best channel for you. I think then we'll be in a much better position. And ultimately, our job as an SEO agency is to evolve. And if we start to see that the majority of customers for this particular brand are actually searching on this platform, then we will need to build out another department at the agency that specializes in SEO for that department. Right now, we see the bulk of the revenue, or searches, I should say, sorry, on Google, which is why we're there. You're 100% right. Like it's evolving and changing so quickly. A little bit scary at the same time how fast things changes. Like I'm sure by the time this podcast goes live, there'll be another AI search engine out there
I know.
as well, getting a lot of buzz.
It is spooky, and I said that to the team, and there's this really nice analogy. So the Chinese symbol for crisis is actually two symbols together, and one of them means danger and one of them means opportunity. And I think that's a really nice way to look at the industry thus far. Like there is danger there for people that aren't adapting and aren't evolving, but for those that do, it's a huge opportunity. So I think that's kind of the way that we're looking at it. But I think it would be dishonest of anyone in the industry to say that they're not a little bit nervous about walking into kind of uncharted territory. Like I don't think anyone in their right minds can say that that's an easy thing to kind of sit with. It's not to say that it's not exciting, but you can still be kind of spooked. It's a little bit spooky.
Yeah. For sure, like we're all human, right? Like I said, anyone who says no is just lying. I really like that saying. I've never heard anyone say that before about the symbol with two different meanings. That's really cool.
Yeah, no, honestly. And then the team were like, "Oh, we get it now," and I was like, "See, ChatGPT helped me with that one."
I love it. I love it.
Are there any specific like roles within your business that you're like, oh, we need to pivot you somewhere else because that's not going to exist in a couple years' time? Like, are there any specific roles that you think are at risk?
I would say immediately like content, but we're never going to replace our content writers and just use AI. Clients value the human input. We value the human input, and it just has a deeper understanding in comparison to AI. Because when you ask ChatGPT to write an article, all it's doing is browsing its catalog that it's been trained on, which is basically existing content on the internet to create you content. So it's never going to be unique and won't have a unique perspective on it. So that's the part that's most at risk. And I already had this conversation with our content team, and we're getting them to be more familiar with how to use the tools, a lot of prompt engineering, how to say the right prompt, how to get the right output. And it's a lot of tweaking. So we predominantly use ChatGPT now to come up with the structure and the headings, but we have Emma, who is our content expert, who writes the actual content and then runs it through another AI model to check it against the keywords we're trying to target. So it's more assisting our workflow. I don't know, because things change so quickly in this world. I can't ever imagine us just saying push a button, blog post, put on the client website. Because then what value are we providing? Like if that is the case.
Yeah. It's like best practices. If everyone follows the exact same best practices and everyone descends out with the same standard of work, there's no one that's actually winning. Because we're actually using AI for our own SEO at the minute, and we churn out articles for every single city that we want to rank in, of kind of like a similar sort of structured approach. And the team do work with external partners just because there's such a volume of work to get through there. And they worked with a partner who was relying predominantly on AI for a lot of that for a couple of months, and the quality of work was just so poor, and we weren't getting the results. I think like then we like really learned actually, do you know what, we went against our better judgment there. We shouldn't have done that. And I think we've then adapted our approach. And internally for our teams, like they do use AI where clients allow us to, because there will be some stuff that gets put in there that, you know, not every single client wants to have their information put in there, but they'll use it to help with idea generation, but more so from like a lot of socialists finding like relatable opposites or relatable situations to something that you're trying to talk about. So you'll be like, oh, give me something where this is stronger than this type thing. And you might look for a song, for example, on TikTok, and it's more so helping with the idea generation. Where it gets a little bit spookier is all of the like ChatGPT image stuff that's come out over the last couple of
Wow.
weeks. So we've got our design team doing like a full blown, like, you know, what can we get out of this? Let's split test it, compare it on paid media, see what's performing better. And I do actually think that is going to have a really big impact on roles that we see in the industry. But it just means that everyone kind of needs to become a little bit more T-shaped. And so if you're a designer and that's your craft, you're going to have to get comfortable with the fact that you probably won't be doing a lot of the hands-on designing. You may be doing the tiny little tweaks, and we can't train AI on taste like within reason. Like we can't really do that. And so that's where that design eye comes from. But really it's the strategy that informs the design that those designers need to level up to, and then be able to use AI properly in order to deliver it. So it's just everyone's learning and no one's mastered it. And so we're all in a bit of a rat race.
It is like the new image stuff from OpenAI is insane. So like I said, I acquired an e-com brand last year. It's actually a knitting brand, so we sell like knitting kits.
Okay, cute.
Our audience demographic is, I think, like 45, 46 and above. And so most people in that age demographic aren't really familiar with AI, and they don't really care about what's going on. So we've actually created, I say me and the person who runs the brand has created loads of AI images of like the knitting kits of like people holding them, and it is saving us a lot of time and
And
a lot of money.
are they performing?
They are really good. They
Okay,
are
there you
really,
go. See?
really good. Like I was quite skeptical, like, oh no, like it's not going to be as great as like the actual. So basically, we're one of our customers holding the box, and we've got
Yeah.
ChatGPT to replicate that like 5, 6 times, and just different backgrounds, different poses, sitting down on a chair, and they're performing better. I mean, it's very early. It only came out like a week ago, but what we're seeing so far is promising, and yeah, it's really, really powerful. Really
Yeah,
powerful.
it's so interesting. And I was with our US team last week and we were talking about this because obviously that came out a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was only even early last week, actually. I can't remember. And then the H&M announcement came out as well, where they're going to be using AI models or getting models likeness and then paying them for that. And we have a lot of in social, you tend to have a lot of ex-theater kids that work in
Right.
social because they're theatrical, they're creative. And so they're all understandably from a human perspective up in arms because they're like, no, like that's taking away models' jobs. So then I like play it with both my hats on. I'm like, I can understand that, to be fair. But then also from a business perspective, you're like, this is so efficient. So we're gonna come into this like moral dilemma as humans over the next couple of years. Like, what makes sense here? And then there's also another side of it that, well, now if you can do that, it's easier for someone to start their own business because they don't have all of the upfront costs of needing to pay for model shots. So there's like so many different angles that you could look at it from a moral perspective as well as like a business perspective.
It's very challenging, and sometimes I think we're the only industry going through this when it's actually happened in every
Yeah.
single industry: medical, health, fitness. Like it is insane, and I find myself in the same situation where it's like, is it morally right if I take that work of someone when I could be giving it to them, or but it's more efficient for the business to do this way? And
Yeah.
ultimately, I think in any scenario, it always comes down to the numbers, unfortunately, because that is what drives businesses, what drives promotions, opportunities. So, if it makes more sense for a business to do this, most businesses will lean towards that edge because it's better off for the overall agency and all the other team members as well. So,
Yeah.
but again, like you said, it's a very thin rope we're all treading on at the moment. We're not sure what's going to happen, if we're being
Yeah.
totally honest.
I think what's going to end up happening with it is I think we would be naive to think that businesses aren't going to mass adopt things like model shots for PDP images and for paid imagery and even organic imagery to some extent. And I understand the moral perspective of it. I 100% do, but I think it would be naive of us not to acknowledge that brands are going to do that. What I do think will end up happening though is some of the brands that do it the most will be more of your like fast fashion brands, slightly lower ticket items, and then the use of humans will be kind of like this North Star that everyone's aiming towards because
Yes.
it'll be for those like luxury brands, for example, that have higher margins. And I think it's going to get really weird for a little bit.
Yeah, it will. I'm sure there'll be brands that have that as a USP. Like, we don't use any AI, and some consumers will love that, and that will differentiate them from another brand. And that's the reason why you'll shop there and buy their products, because you want to buy products from a brand that's actually making a difference and not following trends. So, I think it's a really weird part right now, but it's exciting at the same time, right?
Yeah,
Because
it is. And you get to like learn and grow and stuff like that. And I actually, on the side note of that, there's a couple of I don't know if you've seen it, like indie agencies and even some like middle-sized agencies who are going down the route of like, we don't use AI. Like we won't use it.
oh wow,
Human first agency. And I'm like, I think that's only gonna like be a positive USP for like the next year, maybe. And then I think brands are gonna go, well, you're gonna charge me way more money than an agency that does use AI. And as you said, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the figures.
yeah. Oh, I had a call 2 weeks ago. I did a call with basically inbound leads. Our sales guy was actually ill, so I thought, well, I'll do these calls, and I haven't done these in years. So I did the call, and the brand actually is a massive, like a parent brand in the UK. They own hundreds of brands, well, not 100, but 20. I'm exaggerating here, but anyway, the woman asked me on the call. I didn't know if it was a trick question. She's like, "Do you guys use AI?" And I was like, it's like, yes, but like not how you may think. So, no, no, no. Just want to know because my MD's really big on AI, and if you're not using it, we don't want to work with you. I'm like, oh yeah, we use it just on here, A, B, C, but I wasn't sure if they were trying to catch us out. And
Yeah.
because saying use AI for ideation structure is great, but if sometimes do you use AI to write the whole content? Are you doing anything? That can be seen as kind of a disadvantage as well, right? So yeah, again, I found that quite interesting because I haven't done one of those calls in a while, and I wasn't sure what their intention was or the reason behind asking that question.
Yeah, no, I had the same actually this week, and the same ways like we've been having the question about AI, and actually Maybe like a year ago, maybe slightly less than that, we had a call with like the top tier, like the GOAT of disruptive marketing in the landscape. And you can, if you think hard enough, you'll realize who it is. And they were looking to get rid of their existing agency because they were using AI. And then fast forward, we then had a call the other day with another brand that is like top tier disruptive marketer. And they were like, if you're not using AI, we don't want to work with you. And so just the fact that those conversations happen with very similar brands that are actually being run, like some people have moved brand to brand within that. So they're quite similar types of people in there. And that those conversations have happened maybe 9 months apart and they're complete polar opposites is insane to me. And I think it's hard to know how to take that question whenever someone asks it. But I will say that more often than not now, if a brand came to us and they were completely AI adverse and wouldn't listen to anything else, that to me would be a big red flag for them as a
Flag.
brand because it would just seem to me that they're a bit out of touch with what's going on in the industry.
Yeah, we get that from SEO quite a bit because SEO is quite of a dinosaur industry, to put it in the nicest ways. We get a lot of people that think they know SEO greater than it is, or they did SEO in 2001 and now they're experts. And it's like, hey, Bob, it's actually evolved drastically since those days. And yeah, like we even get clients saying to us, like, we don't want no blogs, we just want links. That's all we need. It's like, I know with respect, like you're hiring us and we know what you need. You have 2 blogs on your website. Your competitors have 60 minimum between those. So like, you need more content. You need to build more relevance. No, I don't need blogs. I watched a video on Twitter. I don't need blogs. I just need links. And it's like, yeah, red flag. And obviously we don't take those brands on because we know we can't get them results. But yeah, you're right. Like we get a similar brand come in and says, I just need more content. I don't need links. Content is everything. I just want, and it's like, I don't understand how people come from the same type of industry, the same brand, same products related, and just have 2 different viewpoints. So drastic as well.
We also had it the other week where a client was telling us was like, stop using ASC, even though it was smashing every single target because of some operational setup that they had with their like product categories. They were like, stop using ASC. And we were like, that's really silly. We're not going to do that. And they were like, come up with some type of structure where you have to break it down like this. And we were like, yeah, we can do that. But the campaign setup is not the way to tackle that. The way that we report and segment and pull data through is the way that we tackle that. Don't touch this campaign structure because it's absolutely smashing your targets. Like you're performing at 2x the results that you wanted. But yeah, I think you do get that sometimes where people just, and I also do think that for us, we've kind of come over the hump of brands being adverse to the AI capabilities that tools like Meta and Google have built into the platform now. And like Meta, everything is going to be AI driven at the coming up. Like they're taking away manual campaign options. So it's all going to be based on creative. But we do still get some people that come to us and we have to do a lot of educating there. Granted, it's a small percentage, but it's still a conversation that has to be had.
No, I think it's a really important conversation because, like I said, with this brand we acquired, it's given me more exposure on even the paid social side of things. And like, I'm running two campaigns, 2 different ad sets for the same brand. And one, I put like interest target, and I want like knitters at like this page and women 45 plus. And I've got an empty campaign, and it's outperforming that campaign by miles.
Yeah.
By miles. It's insane.
Do you know, because it's so funny, because when we first started the agency, and I don't mind admitting this now because it was like 5 years ago, we were working with, it was a startup fashion brand, but they had a lot of backing behind them. So they had quite a lot of cash, and it was started by 2 influencers. And we had set up our campaign structure, and it was all manual back then. It was very different. And I had accidentally set up a campaign and I hadn't put any targeting in it. We'd left it for like 3 months. It was the top performing campaign. And I was like, yeah, my ad sets were performing everyone. And there was no targeting in it. And then the team came to me and they're like, Zoe, your campaign. And I was like, well, it's working. But that was kind of the start of it. And then we actually brought that through and we called it all of funnel until Advantage Plus came about and they kind of built it into the platform. But yeah, we kind of realized the power of the algorithms from a paid perspective very early on and have been working with them ever since. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Running an e-com brand and an agency at the same time, that must be really stressful.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually hired someone, one of our operations directors, good friends, to join the agency last April. She's going to watch this and think, Josh, you got the month wrong. May or April. And she's supposed to join to basically manage all of our social media. And she does actually manage that as well. So all the podcasts, she does all the editing. She organizes it. She puts all the content out. She's really, really good. And then the plan was to kind of push maybe a little bit of organic social. That was my initial plan. And I thought, this doesn't really align with what we do and it's not really our expertise. So I said, why don't I acquire a brand, which also ties into my overall goal because I want to be just all e-com. And it's another USP when we say to clients, we don't just do e-commerce SEO. We actually own an e-com brand and it's killing it, number one, organically. So yeah, that's why we've done it. And obviously to get more exposure on the e-com side. But anyway, she essentially runs the whole operations
Mhm.
and the logistical side of that brand. So we're using a 3PL company. So we're not doing any pick and packing ourselves. It's a subscription based business as well.
Okay.
So when we acquired it, it had like 300 subscribers. Now we're on like 580. So we've done pretty good in like 4 or 5 months,
Okay.
which again is more evidence of that. So from us, from like ClickSlice perspective, it's just another client that isn't paying us a monthly retainer because Mara handles all of the business and we and the team just focus on the marketing.
Okay, nice. Nice. No, it's cool. It makes sense, to be fair. I can just imagine that's a lot to deal with. And like
It is.
flipping your brain to the two of them is very different.
It is like so we have Slack for our comms at the agency, and I've got a Slack just for it's called Kiab Knit in the Box. I've got a whole YouTube video on it, so I don't have to keep it hidden or anything like that. But I find it, I just say, yeah, Mara, can you do this, do that, and I probably underestimate myself how much work it is because it's a mystery knitting box, so it's not a product that you just sell every month. Every month it changes. You have different suppliers, different yarn, different gifts, patterns, chocolates. So yeah, she's doing a great job. Definitely.
Such a nice product though as well. Like that's bringing joy to people's lives straight up. So that's such a nice product to be selling.
AI future proofed as well. People always want to knit, which is
True.
why I got it. So
Um,
good fun though.
I wanted to ask you, out of social, what is your most used social platform personally and why?
I used YouTube. That counts. Like I put my most used app on my phone. To be honest with you, but I probably have Gmail first, Gmail, Slack, and then YouTube.
Okay. Are you a shorts watcher on YouTube?
No, I
No.
know I love long form content.
Right.
Normally when I'm watching like a podcast or a video or like I don't know, a documentary, I just put it on my headphones, go to the gym, or whilst I'm driving, I can just listen and consume it. I don't know. I like to be stimulated a little bit. I find most short form content is quite like clickbaity, and it's like, wow, they get you with a really good hook, and then I don't know.
Like
I need a
the
bit more substance.
short form is like brain rot territory as well. Like I have to, I own a social agency and I have to put and I love social, even though I don't publish anything on my own personals just because I consume it all day. But I love social, but I have to put bans on myself for TikTok particularly because it is brain rot territory 100%, and it's not good for you mentally, and like my cognitive capabilities just kind of dwindle with the more time I spend on the platform, so I have to be quite strict on that. But YouTube's a good one. Like if you're consuming like good quality long form content, like you can learn so much from the platform.
It's crazy. Like Alex Hormozy, like his videos are like 4 hours long. Like
Mm.
I mean that's a bit too much long form for me. Like that's actually half a work day. Like listening to that. But yeah, I think even when you have long form content, if someone watches all of it and they then book a call with you or they're interested in your brand, they're going to be a much higher quality lead as well.
Yeah, 100%. And then I have one more question and then we'll wrap up because I'm mindful of time and I don't want to eat into too much of your day. But what's the one thing that you're most excited about in the next 12 months?
The next time once business related or anything.
Well, just anything.
Do you watch Formula One?
I don't, but I know the hype. I get it.
Okay, yeah. So next year, 2026, the Formula One regulations changes, a whole new car design. Playing field becomes even again. For context, last time Mercedes basically got it spot on and Lewis Hamilton won all these championships. Before that, it was Red Bull.
Okay.
And now we just don't know what's going to happen. So it's a really exciting time for me. I'm like a massive Formula One, like
Okay.
McLaren fan. I think I even have it in my like title on LinkedIn, Formula One fanatic. I think actually nothing to do with SEO.
We actually
But
have
yeah.
a couple clients that are partners with Formula One, and what some of the
Oh, amazing.
team are going. There's something going on in Miami, is there soon? I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
Miami GP, yeah,
Yeah,
Grand Prix.
yeah. So they're going to that basically, and they've got like this free backstage pass and stuff. And I'm like, I don't even like Formula One, but I'm jealous. You're gonna have a great time.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so cool.
Okay, was there anything else that we didn't talk about today that you want to talk about?
No, I think you usually done well. It was like a nice conversational, which went with the flow. We covered a lot of topics actually,
Yeah,
to
we
honest with
did.
you.
We
So yeah,
did. We
it's
did.
good.
Well, it's been so nice to have you on the podcast, and yeah, just like please keep in contact because it'd be great to
I
see what
will
you
do.
guys are up to, and you're doing great work. But for those listening at home, thank you so much for listening. And if you've made it the whole way through this, then well done. But please feel free to comment down below if there's any topics you would like us to cover, or if you have any guests you would like us to bring on, and we will see you next week, if not before. All right, thank you.
Thank you.